Sit back and get ready to have the most fun you ever had with an electronic device. All right, everybody, welcome out to the Get On With It Sports Show. It is Wednesday, July the 13th, 2022. Jersey Johnny coming at you with me, as always, is none other than Mr. RadioPete and Mr. Harry Lug Nutz. Say hello, gentlemen.
Howdy.
Hello, gentlemen.
Yeah,
Hello.
you got it. Hello. Hello.
All right.
No, that's out of the way. Yeah, so how was everybody on this fine summer evening?
Lovely.
Great.
Probably. Just fancy.
It's, are we in the time now when the days get shorter already?
Days have been getting shorter for about 2 weeks, 2.5 to almost 3
All
weeks
right,
now.
there we go.
Days get shorter and the nights get long.
Still light out
and the
till,
rain comes.
8:30
Nobody's gonna know.
Nobody's going to know.
When you know.
Not at all.
When you know.
There you go.
They're going to know.
What song is that?
Days get shorter and nights get long.
She was sweet, 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 and she's so cold.
Oh, the Stones.
Yep. That would be correct.
There you go. Rolling Stones.
The Rolling
One of the greatest lines ever in the history of rock and roll in that song.
Mm-hmm. Which is?
Should make a dead man come.
Oh, yeah.
Is that in that song or is that in Emotional Rescue?
I think it's in that one.
Yeah, you're right.
It's in it's in that one.
Yeah, that's what a great line.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when you're at
Right.
that age.
Yeah, exactly.
When you learn what that
And what he
means, and you
said.
go, hey, what are you? I mean that. And,
Right.
That and the soundtrack to Grease.
well, there's
Exactly.
another Rolling Stones line about what black girls like to do all night.
Oh, yeah.
Which, that was
I don't think they play that anymore. I think he
No,
may
they-
have changed the lyrics to
You
that.
might have
Yeah, that's-
revised that a little bit. Yeah.
that might be one of those. All right. Well, you know what? Since we never talk about sports right away, what is the best way that they have radio edited over the years? Because there's a whole bunch, right?
Right.
You've got the bleeping, you've got the dropping of the sound. I love the one they did for a while where they would reverse the offensive part. Remember that?
Yes.
The worst is when they overdub in another word. That's the worst.
Yeah, that's probably the
That's
worst.
just horrible.
Although on television, that can be great.
Well, you know what, though? Now, lately, though, because a lot of movies, like newer movies, and when I say newer movies, I don't mean just recently. I mean newer movies in the last 20 years or whatever. They've actually recorded the dialogue with the actor's actual voice so that knowing that they're going to air it on regular TV at some point, they can actually have that word. It doesn't match up with the either they shoot.
But we're
the scene
talking about
or
songs.
No, I know. I'm just saying on movies or whatever. But years ago, it was just horrible because it was somebody
yeah.
else's voice
Well,
saying
right.
that.
Right. It was the guys that did the dubbing for all the kung fu movies.
Yeah.
Yes.
They had to have work, so they were like, all right, well.
Best example of that I ever saw was the Flintstones in Italian.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
So what is I agree that's the worst one. What is the best one?
What's the best
Ciao
one?
bella, Barney.
I would.
Pasta formaggio, Fred.
Dove sono i gabinetti, Fred?
That's even better.
Yes. Barney.
Barney.
Yeah. I watched. There was one night I had a little too much to drink in Italy, and I was sitting at a Chinese restaurant in Rome watching the Flintstones on the television in Italian. It was very bizarre. Very bizarre.
That's pretty funny.
Chinese subtitles?
No.
Chinese
In
subtitles.
my head, there were. The guy was. The woman was writing them as she spoke to me.
There you go. I gotta love it. Gotta love it. I think the best one would probably be where they reversed it. I think that's the best one.
I don't like any of them.
No, I don't like any of them.
Words.
I don't like any of them. I said the most creative one is they just take the same word and flip it around.
You know what? There's also where they stick in like almost like a cheap. Remember, you'd have like the old keyboards that had like orchestra hit sounds and cheap like scratch sounds.
Right.
Remember when they put those in?
One of those in, right? Yeah.
Be like, she was our son of a. You know, those were great.
Yeah.
I always liked when they overdubbed the Penguin from Batman.
Because he almost sounds like
With
a
a real
got a little
penguin.
Edward G. Robinson in him. You
That's
know.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was on
Yeah,
purpose.
go get him.
Like, why can't the Penguin pay homage to Edward G. Robinson?
Yes, I don't know.
Now, who is a better penguin though?
You know, I don't even think they bleep half this shit anymore. I think it's just I don't think they catch everything. There's not as many people really concerned about the FCC anymore because
And they've
people
got certain times too,
mostly everything on streaming and things that go through. I mean, I'm not even sure, with the exception of some really top 40 stations, classic rock stations and like even alternative rock stations or whatever you want to call them, they don't play anything new, so they don't have to redo anything.
It's not like they're not playing.
Well,
They just take the alt rock tracks that they've been playing for 20 years and now add them to the classic rock station.
Right.
It's funny when I hear Green Day on a classic rock
classic
station.
rock, yeah. Well, you probably have like old white men doing the censoring for the stations that use it, so they don't even know what half the terms are.
Right.
You know, they're not up on it.
Not at all. So,
Speaking of old white men not knowing what terms are. Anyway,
here we are, the three of us.
Yeah,
Perfect example here.
Yeah, exactly.
What
terms are you talking about?
Talking about more of white men with way more power who sit in black robes.
This is true.
Yeah,
that would be those guys. Yes,
and one rather young, googly-eyed fucking nut. But other than that, you know.
Other than that, on that note, I was just going to ask you. You said it before, so as a quick throw to Batman or whatever. Who was the better penguin?
Yeah.
Who was the better penguin? Danny DeVito or Burgess Meredith?
Burgess Meredith. Always.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that character was basically made for
Burgess Meredith.
It's just Burgess Meredith.
Right. Right. He wasn't acting.
He's the penguin, whether he's coaching Rocky or in Batman. He's the penguin.
Exactly.
He always was. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, very, very true. Very true.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah. I love Danny DeVito, and he's one of the better characters in the newer, older.
Those aren't even
new at this point. It's 30.
You see,
20 to 30 years old.
When it comes to Batman, there's just old Batman on television. If there's not bad graphics saying "pow" and "boom," I'm not watching Batman.
I'm not watching it.
Yeah.
I didn't mind the first one, the Michael Keaton one. Because
Michael Keaton was
Jack
great.
Nicholson, because Michael Keaton's great, and that Jack Nicholson in it as a Joker was pretty great.
Right.
The one with Danny DeVito and Christopher Walken, only because you had Christopher Walken in it, you know. Beyond that, it just got too
small part for him, though.
Was Gary Coleman the Penguin in one, or was he Catwoman? I can't remember. Or was that Dabney Coleman?
I think it was Dabney Coleman.
It
might have actually been just Coleman, like Coleman.
No.
Cooler.
No, you lost it. You lost the thread.
Went too far.
You lost it.
Went too far. All right.
Fine line, and we stepped right over.
There you go.
All right, what's going on in sports other than?
Well, there's not really anything but baseball right now because it's the dog days of summer.
The NHL playoffs finished up.
NHL playoffs finished up.
Yeah. I don't know. I would argue that this is the most exciting time of the NBA season.
Pretty much.
You know what?
This is the time. This is the time of year in the NBA when the winner of next year's championship is decided.
Nah, the supposed winner.
Yeah, the supposed winner is decided, right?
Yeah.
So. Here's what I think. If I were so inclined to try and know more about sports than I do, like by watching more of it or reading more about it or whatever, this would be the time. Because I don't have 2 or 3 different sports or 4 going on. Right. It's just baseball, and I can concentrate if I were so inclined. And so, to me, this is really the best time. Not just because those other sports suck or anything like that. Sure. I can't keep up with. Hockey is non-existent until the playoffs for me.
If you continue to lose any knowledge of sports at all, then you could become a morning sports analyst on ESPN.
Yes, if I were dumber.
Here's my commentary for the week, and I will leave it at this and not go too far into it because I don't want to say too much. But this new generation of people who are on Get Up and First Take they're horrible.
Is First Take the one where there's like 5 or 6 people all yelling at each other?
Stephen A. Smith's on vacation and has been on vacation for like 7 months. And Mike, what's his name on Get Up?
Greenberg.
He's great, but he's got a new collection of idiots too over there.
Yeah.
The only sensible one, and this is crazy that this is the case, is Mike Russo, the Mad Dog, who
Chris
Russo. I'm sorry, Mike and the Mad Dog. He's the only sensible one on that show anymore. I guess I'm sick and tired of ex-athletes sitting for hours and hours and hours and telling me how we should feel sorry for Kevin Durant and that the system has cost him money.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you're right.
And those words were uttered today on ESPN.
Yeah. He's only going to be. You know how sad it is, really, when it comes right down to that. When you hear stuff like that, he's probably only going to be able to get 6 or 7 cars this year. It's a shame.
These are the other things. These are the other things I heard today. Okay, who's the ex-Saints coach? Sean. I'm sorry. The Rams coach, Sean McVay.
Oh, McVay. Yeah.
I heard today that Sean McVay is a better coach than Vince Lombardi.
Oh wow, really?
And that Lamar Jackson is a better quarterback than Tom Brady.
Well,
these were comments being made by ex-pro athletes who are now getting paid to be on ESPN.
Right, but they're also getting paid to cause controversy.
You know what they're doing? They're making me go, I can't watch this anymore. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because there's one thing to have the false arguments. There's one thing to have the false arguments. But I just can't. And I buy cable for ESPN and for sports. That's it. But it has become. I really don't think there's any rhyme or reason or logic.
No.
They also think that anything from the 90s or the 80s is just, they don't deserve any credit. Forget about the 60s and 50s. You know?
No. They have been sports news, right? Sports media has been infected with the same thing.
Yep, you're absolutely
right. Has infected news media.
You're absolutely right.
Which is, it's not necessarily about right. It's about kind of right, but first, it's about controversy. It's about clicks. It's about, did you hear what so-and-so said? It's unfortunate, but it is now basically filtered into every aspect.
If First Take,
of that form of media.
If all of the shows in the morning or throughout the day on any TV or for that matter radio shows, we're reporting the same thing and having the same conversations and having the same, they want people to tune in. Oh, listen to, do you hear what whatchamacallit was talking about?
Right, even if it's the same topic. Well, I gotta have a take that no one else had.
Right.
Yet.
Just enough to share shit. Just to share shit. That's it.
Yeah. Have you guys ever watched First Things First? It's on Fox Sports 1. I think it's there.
I've seen it.
That's the one with like the 5 or 6 boxes, right? Mm-hmm. And what do, John? They just yell at each other.
Oh yeah.
And talk over each other. I mean,
there's a similar one on ESPN for that. Yeah.
Have either of you watched? I mean, I in the morning, if I'm watching anything in the morning, not so much this time of year, but occasionally this time of year, but definitely during in the fall and early winter. I'm watching Good Morning Football on NFL Network.
Is that the guy with the giant ears?
I like
he's on afterwards. After Good Morning Football is done, he comes on.
First Things First is like the
flat Guam with those ears.
Uncivilized Neanderthal man version of Around the Horn.
That's the one I was thinking of. Was Around the Horn.
Yeah, it's worse than Around the Horn.
Is Around the Horn with Mike with the two veteran journalists? Is that Around the Horn or no? That's the one with Woody. Yeah, Around the Horn is the one where they're all on the screen. What's the one with just the two guys? Mike.
Pardon the interruption.
Pardon the interruption.
Yeah.
I love that show. I used to listen to the podcast every day with Wilbon and Kornheiser.
Michael Wilbon and Kornheiser.
Those guys, and Wilbon's on a lot of other shows.
Yeah.
But those two on that show in particular.
Those two guys are great. And Jalen Rose's show with what's his name is Jacoby is pretty good. But other than that, it's
whatever.
I never thought I'd be missing Stephen A. Smith.
You know what I like to watch in the morning is the I don't know what it's TSN. It's the Canadian version of ESPN.
Mm-hmm.
Their Sports Center
is you watch that.
He's got to catch up his Grey Cup news.
No, because that is more like how, and Sports Center itself is still kind
it's the BBC of sports news.
It's the old version of Sports Center where they just go through the games and give you, there's no commentary, there's no special segments. Yeah. It's just here's what happened in this sport, here's what happened in this sport. It's great. Mm-hmm. I watch that. And of course they're talking about Canada sometimes, but I just tune out with that.
It's all cool. I mean, but Good Morning Football. I mean, they got Kyle Brandt and Peter Schrager are pretty good. Nate Burleson was on there for years. He's gone now because he's at CBS now. Sean O'Hara's been sitting in a lot, but they have a rotating seat. But Kay Adams,
I miss. I'll tell you what. I'm glad Chris Russo's back on. I miss him. I didn't realize how much I missed him, but. He knows what he's talking about. Yeah, he knows what he's talking about.
He does.
Yeah, sports media sucks.
Yeah, pretty much.
With rare exceptions.
With rare exceptions. So so we're heading into All-Star Week. We're gonna do a special show next week on All-Star Tuesday. So after the All-Star Tuesday, All-Star Game Tuesday. That's Tuesday next week, right? It's the All-Star Game. So So we're going to do it at around 6 o'clock. So it'll be before the All-Star game, and we're gonna say who we would have had starting in the game. So
since that's happening next week, good night, folks.
See you later.
Enjoy. Tune in next week. Ciao.
You've got what's how many hours in a week? 126 or something like that.
People obviously are finding other things to do. So
148 is it? So you've got that minus.
What else do we have to talk about?
Well,
we can talk about. You want to talk about who?
Let's talk about basketball because I think it's interesting.
I was just going to say, since baseball is the only thing going on, let's get baseball out of the way. There's a couple things to talk about heading into the All-Star break.
We could talk about who has been selected.
Right? Yeah, we could talk.
Not our selection.
Not our selection, but who is?
We should probably. You want to do that? Okay.
Yeah, we could talk about that.
Well,
let's before we get to the All-Star game, let's almost like wrap up the first half of the season, so to speak, but not in a big way. Just a couple of things. Obviously, first team to 60 games was who?
Yankees.
The Yankees, of course, and best record in baseball.
Yankees.
Second, Mets don't even have the second best record in baseball anymore. Mets have the third best record in baseball.
How far ahead of the Braves are the Mets now?
Mets are 2.5 games, so they took 2 out of 3 from the Braves in Atlanta this week. So
they did. They came back and won that second game, didn't they?
No. They won the first game and they won today.
Okay, so
they won Monday night and they won today. Yesterday, don't even get me started on yesterday. They lost 4-1, and every year they won 2-1 on Monday night, I believe it was. The 1 run on Monday that the Braves scored, the 4 runs they scored last night, and the 3 runs they scored today, all 8 of those runs over 3 games were results of home runs.
Here's the Mets. Okay, the Mets are as if the Golden State Warriors had the third best record in basketball, and they've played almost the entire season without Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. That's the Mets. The Mets are the best team in baseball. If their 2 top pitchers, who are 2 of the top, I would say, easily 10, probably 5 pitchers in baseball, are 75% of what their potential are, then the Mets are the best team in baseball. The Mets are the best team in baseball. They have a much more consistent way of scoring runs than the Yankees. The Yankees are struggling right now. They're blowing games, which they never used to, which is a troubling sign. And the Mets have more people who can manufacture runs, and that's so great pitching and the ability to manufacture runs and a better closer. Clay Holmes is. Yeah, we'll give him a little more. We'll give him a couple more chances.
I mean, he's been pitching very well, Clay.
He's been pitching very well, but the Mets are set up to, I think, to be the best team in baseball. And I'm not trying to be just hard on the Yankees. I think the Yankees are having a great year. I think for a team like the Yankees to maintain what they're doing is a bigger ask than for a team like Houston to win 2 out of 3 or 3 out of 5 or 4 out of 7 against the Yankees.
Right.
That's my take. I hope I'm wrong. And look, I give the Yankees as much credit as possible. Whatever they made some good moves. But the Yankees don't have anybody hitting close to 300 on the team.
No.
You know, and the guys who can manufacture runs are not always in the lineup. And so we'll see. They've been carried by their pitching, and their pitching has been great. But we shall see.
We shall see. I was at Citi Field for this past Saturday. Keith Hernandez jersey retirement day. It was a very good ceremony. Kudos to Steve Cohen, put that together. It was really good and deserving. Keith Hernandez is, one of he's one of the best first basemen in the history of baseball. And I didn't say the best. I said one of the best.
Top 30 for sure.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Well, I mean. Yeah. Well,
I mean that
in a good way. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. That's saying a lot.
No,
Right.
There might be 20 first basemen right now in the National League that are better than him. Then we'll get to that when we talk about.
No. I know.
Talk about trying to pick a first baseman. It's ridiculous.
Well, I mean, and it was pretty cool too because New York in the 80s had two really damn good first basemen,
both with great mustaches.
Okay, and they were both at Citi Field on Saturday because the Mets were playing the Marlins. So, but they gave out these two. This was pretty cool. I got a Keith Hernandez bobblehead.
Ooh,
so there you go. And they're actually doing Gary Cohen and Ron Darling too bobbleheads. So have to get out the games, and we'll have to talk about that, Pete. Maybe one of those will be the game we go out to, and we meet out there and try all the food that we were going to do.
Jeremy bobblehead.
Ron Jeremy bobblehead, right? Yes,
yeah. And did they play any Seinfeld clips of Keith Hernandez? On the big
Jerry Seinfeld gave on the Jumbotron a big congratulatory speech and everything. It was pretty good. But here's the thing, though: if you watch the game, it was very frustrating. I mean, the Mets couldn't hit. It was against the Marlins.
I did not watch the game.
So, but they wound up winning in the bottom of the 10th. All right, on a walk-off error.
Perfect.
Right, on a walk-off error. So, and they tied the game. They had already tied the game, but they went ahead and won it on a walk-off error. Now, the last time that the Mets won a game in the bottom of the 10th on a walk-off error on the other team was Game 6 of the 1986 World Series when the ball went through Buckner's legs. How fitting was that for the day that they retired Keith Hernandez's number for that, that to happen? I thought it was pretty cool.
That was pre-designed by the baseball gods.
Yeah, it was amazing. Have you seen the Bill Buckner cameo in Curb Your Enthusiasm?
No.
Oh, you need watch it and we'll discuss it.
Right.
I'm sure you could find it wherever.
Find a YouTube clip and
but it's spectacular.
Interesting.
Yes.
Anything go through his legs?
Watch it
and see. I got you. All right, so I'll have to take.
Let's just say it's redemption. I feel like Larry David was maybe, in some way, shape, or form, was giving Bill Buckner a second chance.
Gotcha. Yeah, there were plenty of signs all over being held up all day at Citi Field. Nice game, pretty boy, and stuff like that.
From Newman. Up and to the left.
Yeah, up and to the left. Up and to the left.
That's such a great episode, and it's just great. Yeah, he was in a few there. It was a couple in that season where he was in. I think two maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that was pretty good. But anyway, so the Mets, the Dodgers have moved ahead of them. Percentage wise,
Dodgers are a great team.
Dodgers are a great team. They have one more win and 4 less losses, so they're sitting at the 651. Mets are at 618 with 55 and 34 record, but second best record in the league. So hey, it's going to come down to they got a lot of games. They had before this week they had 15 games against the Braves, so they got another 12 games against the Braves the rest of this year. That's what the division is going to come down to. It's going to come down to that.
And the Braves are going to sign Kyrie until the end of the baseball season.
I heard that. I did hear that. Yeah, he's going to play power forward.
He's going to play second base.
Well, he's going to play power forward on second base. But anyway, so he's the Braves are going to be right there. It's going to be a gun shootout until the end of the season. So
how many games is each team going to play before the All-Star break?
They are at 89 now, and they have another 4. The Mets anyway. So the Braves are at 90, and they have another 4.
And why is that? Why is the All-Star break no
Bit-
longer in the middle?
Because
of the
they
season?
don't want it around July 4th.
Yeah, they need to move it away from it.
Because
the middle of the season is the 4th of July, basically. So they need to move it a week and like
Because-
2 weeks away from 4th of July weekend.
And the season was
Baseball-
also delayed, right?
And the season was delayed. The season was delayed too.
Yeah,
But they
so
got
what?
a
But-
lot. They made a lot of them up already with doubleheaders.
Mhm.
So they're basically where they would have been.
So baseball is not American enough to be played on the 4th of July, or
They should.
nothing else can happen on the
Well,
4th of July.
At this particular year, they didn't want to. I guess they didn't want to do 2 weeks in a row or whatever it was. But if they did it on the 4th of July, they would have been all they wanted games on the 4th of July. They didn't want the home run derby on the 4th of July this year because that's what it had been. So, but we'll see what happens.
The home run derby,
What?
a much bigger event than the.
The home run derby is a
Actually,
Monday night,
game
and this
anyway.
year 4th of July was a Monday. So if they had given the All-Star break right at halfway through the season this year, the home run derby would have been on 4th of July.
When was the 81st game of the season?
A week and a half ago. So it would have been the
July 5th.
it was July 3rd, July 2nd, July 3rd, somewhere in there. Yeah. Got to have been halfway through the season.
All
4th
right.
of July weekend was
There's
halfway
baseball, approximately halfway through the season.
approximately halfway through the season. All-Star
Yeah,
break.
Really? What
next week.
the fuck? I mean, does tradition mean nothing?
Everybody does that. The NBA does it. The NHL does it. No one does the All-Star game. It's always a little past the middle of the season.
Mm-hmm. Get more games under their belt. So
The,
it's
the
a little bit
NFL,
closer to
the NFL All-Star game is
Well, that's
way past the middle of the season.
Mhm.
Yeah, but that's different.
That's
But listen, the NBA and the NHL, as far as I know, don't decide home field for the World Series the way the Major League Baseball.
No, they would not decide home field for the World Series.
Well,
that would be the Major
excuse me,
League
the
Baseball.
championship series.
Although that
pardon
would make it more interesting.
me. The championship.
It really would.
Right, 2 out of 3, right? You
Right.
take all 3 of them, and But
Right.
so there's something at stake here. Much as I don't like that idea, there's something at stake here besides, merely league bragging rights.
Is it
So,
still?
like,
Is
I
that
just
still the
what-
case? I mean, I hate all this because I think the team with the best record should have home field.
Yeah, I agree. I hate the fact that the winner of the All-Star game that league gets home field. I think it's dumb.
Yeah.
But
Well,
that's
you just
the
hate
way
it. You just hate it because the American League is typically.
Well, no, that's the way it is. So why not just figure it out? Have the game halfway through the season,
Or
or just wait a day, wait one extra day.
Well, at what point are they going to have Ohtani and
Right.
Judge pick teams like Tiddlywinks, like the NBA does? I'm waiting for that to happen next, which I hate.
I hear you.
I don't know.
well.
It's just
Well, a quick look around the league. Let's start with the American League. Yankees are in 14 games in first place right now in the East.
By the way, that as we predicted, and most of us, I think all 3 of us, in the beginning of this season,
Mhm.
before the season began, right now, 4 out of those 5 teams in the American League East are in the playoffs, and the Orioles, who people thought were going to be a doormat this year,
we win
are
like
not that bad.
9
Almost-
in a row. Well, they
almost-
won 9 in a
playing
row.
They're in last place in the AL East, and they're playing 500 ball.
Every
Yeah.
team in that division is
But there's only one team in that division that fired their manager today,
yes.
and that's the Blue Jays. And you
Which
can look at it. You can say glass half full, glass half empty. Like, okay, you're 2 games ahead of Baltimore, who's supposed to be the cellar dwellers.
Mhm.
But the only team in the Central that's better than the Blue Jays record-wise is Minnesota.
Mhm.
And the only team in the West is Houston, and they're tied with Seattle, and they're 6 games ahead of Texas.
And I would argue that I would argue with Minnesota, they're not a better team than Toronto or.
No, I'm just
Tampa
saying
Bay.
record-wise.
Right,
as far as
record-wise,
total-
but that's because they get to play a lot of games against teams that are not
The Royals
in the
and
AL
the
as
East.
Tigers
far as
and the White
going
Sox, yeah.
to the playoffs goes,
Right.
Toronto's still in it by a relatively healthy margin. Now, on the other hand, you could say, well, we expected a lot more from them. And for God's sakes, they're a game behind fucking Boston,
Mhm.
who a lot of us thought was going to be
Well,
better than they
Boston's
started
Boston's
off.
had some streaks now too. I mean,
Right,
I-
but
you know,
we kind of thought they were going to be pretty good, and they started off terrible,
Right.
but have since come around. So I don't know. Is the manager really the problem? Because
I was surprised. I was surprised by that move.
They're one game behind the second and third place team in their division.
It tells you. It does tell me though where the Blue Jays ownership is at.
Win right now.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I guess they got to. And then of course I think the GM came on and they're never going to tell the truth. But they're like, no, he didn't lose the clubhouse. That's not the reason. Well, what is the reason? I know it's been rough. They're not as good as you would expect. They're 4 games over 500. But does it matter? If they get into the playoffs and they are 5 games over 500 at the end of the season, who cares? Get in and go on a run. There's no one's catching the Yankees. Knock wood.
Well,
you're a game back of the other teams in your division, and you're ahead of virtually everyone else in the American League. But he's gone. Charlie Montoya.
What a great
Montoya?
name.
Yeah.
My name is Charlie Montoya. I'm here to.
My name is Charlie Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
You fired me from the Blue Jays.
I will go to the Yankees.
Better to die. I don't know. I found it strange, but I don't know if he pissed somebody off in the organization or something.
Who knows?
Well, look, if they don't get significantly better, then we'll know it was a mistake.
Then we'll know it was a mistake. Yeah. Let's look at the National League.
Sorry, it's Montoyo.
Montoyo. Yes.
The joke works better if it's Montoya.
It's Montoya.
Yeah.
Let's look at the National League really quick.
It probably was, and he got tired of hearing that. So
hearing that joke. So
you know what? He's surrounded by 19 to 27-year-olds. He doesn't hear that joke ever.
He doesn't hear that joke ever. I don't think any of them watch The Princess Bride.
And those guys know The Princess Bride.
He doesn't even know The Princess. He's probably 20 years younger than us.
Those guys have oodles of time on their hand.
They're not watching The Princess. They're not. Yeah, they're not watching.
They're not watching Manny Patinkin running around with a sword. So
yeah. They're not watching old Rob Reiner films.
It's not going to happen.
Is that Rob Reiner? That is
Rob Reiner. Yeah. It's Rob Reiner. All right, so let's look at the National League. Mets 2.5 games in front of the Braves, 8.5 in front of Philly. The Brewers only a 1.5 game lead now over the Cardinals in the Central.
Look at the Phillies though since their managerial change. Right?
Yeah, they're creeping up. They're not winning. They're not winning a ton like the Braves had done for a while there, but they're they
got a chance at a wild card.
They're playing. They got 500 to 600 balls, so they're
2.5 games behind Milwaukee. Yep. That's a good way of looking at it. They're 2.5 games behind Milwaukee.
Yeah.
And well, they have the same record as Toronto. Not that matters as far as the wild card goes, but
it's hard. The wild card's hard in any of the divisions in the National League because of the National League West.
Right.
Because the Padres and the Giants are going to be right there, and it's going to be really difficult for Giants are a little bit further back, but
Philly's got a better record than the Giants. So.
Philly's got a better record than the Giants right now, but still, I mean, you got at least definitely one of the wild card teams are coming out of the West,
unless
not two. Right. So and with the Brewers and the Cardinals playing the ball they're playing in the Central, you're looking at maybe one team out of the East. So. I mean,
there's three wild card teams now, right?
Well, one of the other. I'm not talking about the Braves and the Mets. Obviously, the Braves and the Mets, everything keeps going as it is. One of them's winning the division. One of them's the wild card team.
Right. But I'm saying there's 3 wild card teams.
There's three.
So that increases your chances.
Right.
I just want to say one thing: the Colorado Rockies have a better record than the Los Angeles Angels.
They do. You're absolutely right.
Oakland.
Oakland, I think everybody. I mean, this is in the offseason, they just unloaded everyone.
Yeah.
And
who's
the fact that they've won 30 games kind of blows me away.
Shocking. Really
who I would think is also, not that I'm a fan of theirs, but a quote unquote pleasant surprise would be the Marlins.
Right.
I mean, they're a couple 4 games under, and they were.
The fact that they're hovering around 500 is amazing. It also just tells you how much the Nationals have tanked. Right. The disappointments, I think, obviously have to be the Reds. I mean, this was a team, weren't they a playoff team the last 3 years?
They were there. They were right there.
I would say the Reds are probably the biggest disappointment. And I would say, based on what they did in the offseason, I would say in the American League, the 2 biggest disappointments are probably the Angels and the Rangers.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. Yeah.
And you could say the whole Central is a little bit of a disappointment.
Who's the biggest surprise to you?
I think
leagues.
the biggest surprise is the Yankees on pace to have the all-time win record. I mean, I think it doesn't surprise me that they're in first place, but it surprises me that they're 14 games up at All-Star.
Fair enough. I'll give you that one. But
I was going to say that's the same thing.
Taking it out of take it away from that context.
The Twins.
And granted, who's the biggest surprise of a team that you would not think would have been where they are?
I would say the Twins. I didn't expect them to be right at the top of that division, although they weren't a bad team. They're still not a great team, but the fact that they're at the top of that division.
Well, I mean, they do have Gary Sanchez, so I mean, you got to look at it like that. Yeah.
True, and I would say, even though it's not a huge surprise, I would say it's in the same category of a bounce back. Mm-hmm. The Padres. I didn't know where they were going to go this year, and they seem to have bounced back a little bit. They're living up closer to the potential. I'll be honest with you. The biggest surprise in baseball is the Mets. And only because they're right where I would expect them to be, but they're doing it without Scherzer and DeGrom. I mean, I don't think people understand how amazing that is.
The 55 and 34. Well, Scherzer came back. He's pitched one game now. He pitched on Monday.
But you know what I mean. Yeah.
But they've done it to this point without those two arms.
Yes.
A couple of a month in the beginning of the season with Scherzer, and he's been out for 2 months, and now he's back. But and without DeGrom, and yeah, you're absolutely right. You're. Could you imagine if both of them were healthy for the whole season all the way through? I mean, they'd be we'd be the Yankees would be looking up at them. I mean, it's only 6 games different right now.
The other thing too is Houston's got 57 wins, so they're having a hell of a year, which they're always good. But the Yankees and Astros are having. If it wasn't for the Yankees, I think we would all be. And look, I'm not so sure that the Yankees are that much of a better team, or even a better team than the Astros. Mm-hmm. I don't want to face Justin Verlander in a short series. Twice. It's Houston's tough. And
right now, speaking of the Yankees, they lost yesterday to the Reds.
Yeah, they blew it. They'll give up. I mean, they blew a great start by Garrett Cole.
Yeah, and they're in the top of the 5th right now, tied at 5 to the Reds. And these games, and they're home. They're in the Bronx. And they're home. So. Yeah. So,
the Reds are a team, again, like I said, when you ask me who the biggest prize is, I would not be surprised if the Reds wind up being close to a 500 team by the end of the year. They're not as bad as their record indicates.
Fair enough.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, considering they had 3 wins in April.
Yeah. I mean, talk about getting off to a bad start.
They got off to I mean, they were what is their? Well, they were 4-23 on May 7th.
That's insane.
And they are now what? 33 and
54. So they went 29. They went 29 and 29 and 31. 29 and 31. No. So they basically been playing 500 ball.
29 and 27.
You just said they were 4-23.
All right. What's that?
Oh, sorry, 23. I math's not this.
No, it's 4-23. So they went 29 and 31. So they basically played 500 ball since going 4-23 on May 7th. So that's not bad.
Because 4-23 is about 250 ball.
Yeah. No.
Well, a little more than.
No, it's under 200.
All right. Well, we'll see in a week who can uppercut more home runs over the left field fence.
It's like 190 something.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
That's pretty bad.
Alrighty.
So, anyway, all right.
You mean you don't want to listen to John and I
talk about stats?
Stumble about math?
Math.
Try and add and
subtract.
It's not just math. It's math about the Cincinnati Reds.
There's a caveat there.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right.
This is math that no one cares about, not even people in Cincinnati.
Right, exactly. All right, so let's look at the
Joe Morgan doesn't even give a shit about this.
Hey, did you know that the Reds went 29 and something since they were terrible? I heard it on this podcast.
That's right. Reds watch. We should have a little.
The Reds watch. Yeah, we should talk about the Cubs for our Chicago fan.
He hasn't been back in 12 weeks.
If
I can avoid talking about Chicago,
we'll talk
then
about
it's great. Come to Denver. You can experience all of Chicago here. They've all moved here. especially any male under the age of 30.
Here's what I'll say about the Cubs. They're practically as bad as the Reds.
Anyway, all right, let's
join our Patreon where Pete breaks down the Cubs week by week statistical improvements.
Position by position, player by player.
And if you pledge enough, he'll do it in lingerie of your choice.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's right. Or not in lingerie.
Or not in lingerie.
If you really are.
If that is still your choice.
If you got money burning a hole in your pocket.
Right.
You can spend whatever you wish.
If you've got that $28, then go for it.
All right. Let's talk about the All-Star rosters.
Okay.
Oh, okay. So we had a special All-Star Tuesday.
No, we're doing that. We're doing ours.
Okay,
you want to just why don't we just discuss the All-Star rosters the way they are when we talk about ours?
I think that's a good idea.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. Let's do
that. Might take a long. No, I probably won't take that long.
That'll be good. That'll be all of that special next week's episode.
Pretty much. Well, we'll have the quiz,
an All-Star quiz,
and the quickies and stuff like that. But all
let's do it.
All right. Football. We got training camps coming up in a couple weeks.
All righty, that's football.
Oh, you know what? That's probably a good idea because of the Canada thing.
Right.
We don't know.
I mean, the most interesting thing with football is Zach Wilson, right?
You player. I knew there was something about that kid I liked.
Exactly.
Well, we don't know what his mom's friend is, do we?
I mean, has there been a picture of her?
I don't know. We'd have to check the New York Post. You have to pay to get on
Did
there.
you see the chicks that he took to the prom?
To the prom?
Or I don't know, wherever he took.
Did he take his mom's friend to the prom?
How old is?
No. I thought I saw a story. He took like 2 girls to the prom or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
See if he can take the Jets across.
Looking
the
for it right
40-yard
now.
line.
Exactly. Hold on. I think I got it right here.
Might have been an onion.
Yeah. Remember when Terry Bradshaw dated Phyllis Diller? That was all the rage.
That's great. So Barstool Sports is selling these T-shirts.
I saw it.
There you go. Throwing bombs, banging moms.
Nice.
Okay. Yeah.
I find that offensive and it triggers me.
All right. What, the throwing bombs part?
Yes, the throwing bombs part. Because I'm a Giants fan and we're against that.
Right. Exactly. Apparently, we really don't like to see that happen.
That's right.
All that often.
That's right.
So, whatchamacallit? So Deshaun Watson's suspension decision. Headlines: unfinished business ahead of NFL training camps. Just because it's a quiet part of the league calendar doesn't mean there aren't matters to address. Do
you think he'll play?
The 3-day disciplinary hearing to determine whether Watson violated the NFL's personal conduct policy because of alleged inappropriate sexual conduct during numerous massage sessions was held in late June. Post-hearing briefs were due by July 12th. A ruling from the disciplinary officer, Sue L. Robinson, a retired U.S. District Court judge, could come at any time, but is expected before the Browns open training camp on July 27th. So there's no decision yet. She's going to strike a decision down prior to the start of Browns training camp. So let me ask you this, and this isn't it's not a quiz, so it's not anything we're going to save until next week's show, but will Deshaun Watson start the season for the Browns?
No.
Will Deshaun Watson play at all this year
yes.
for the Browns? Okay. Pete? What do you think?
I think he will. I think he will be suspended enough to not, but then these things always get repealed.
I think he'll get 6 games.
I think he'll get suspended for a year and then it'll be dropped to like 8.
6 or 8 games and then
somewhere around there. So yeah.
They usually don't drop him.
Well, no, on the appeal they always make it less.
Oh.
Yeah, they'll repeal some of the games or appeal some of the games.
Unless he gets like 2 years, and then they could appeal it back to 1 year. But I don't think that'll happen.
No, I don't think it's going to be that.
No,
exactly.
So yeah, he'll play. He won't start the season, but he'll play. So Jacoby Brissett, you're up.
There you go. All right. I don't think there's much more NFL. I mean, we'll hit training camps. I mean, we're talking about 2 weeks from today is when most training camps open. So we'll have some news that week. On our show not next week's special show at the MLB All-Star Game. The week after that show, we'll have a lot of training camp news and a little bit more NFL in-depth conversation going on then.
Well, just a couple of quick things.
Sure.
The Panthers have officially completed their trade for Baker.
Yep.
So I think the Sam Darnold experiment is over.
Pretty much.
And I was wrong.
I don't necessarily think so.
Well, I'm not saying he's never going to play again, but
I think they're going to battle it out for the right to get destroyed.
Yeah, and Baker's going to win that battle because he's a better quarterback. Yeah, he is. He is.
I'm not so sure about that, but okay.
Anyway, the other thing I wanted to mention real quick is, you remember a couple months ago, Dan Snyder, there was a story about him maybe keeping 2 sets of books with the old Washington Commanders. Yeah.
Sure.
So he is going to testify before Congress, but there's a little bit of a squabble going on because his lawyer, Karen Patton Seymour, said that he's going to do this voluntarily, and he's going to do it via video conference, apparently while he's in Israel, memorializing the first anniversary of his mother's death. Mm-hmm. And Carolyn Maloney, representative from New York, Long Island, says that the committee has accepted his offer to testify, but they're going to still subpoena him because they don't want him to be able to use any sort of bullshit tactics as far as non-disclosure agreements or anything to withhold information. So they're basically saying, and his lawyer saying, you don't need to subpoena him. He's going to cooperate fully and answer all your questions.
But why is Congress involved?
Because
if the state that he's in did not bring up any charges, then
because I think these are federal antitrust laws, or some sort of federal laws.
Okay, so he would have been brought up by the State Department, not questioned by Congress. He would have been.
Well, Congress is investigating the matter.
Why?
I don't know, but they are.
Why? Can Congress go back to doing what they're supposed to do and like pass some laws to help the thousands and millions of people that are struggling and leave the?
Well, listen, Congress gets involved in some of these things.
They shouldn't.
Well, they did with the steroids in baseball, and they have on a few other occasions. Anyway, they're basically saying we don't trust you because, and we're gonna subpoena you, even though he doesn't have to be there. So, and his lawyer said, you don't have to do that. But they're not fooling around.
He's the only one.
Well, I don't know who else they're intending on to talk to.
He's the only owner, though, that's being subpoenaed.
Yeah, because he's the guy that's been accused of cooking the books or keeping 2 sets of books.
Right.
That's
can't imagine.
And well,
anybody doing that.
Well, he was defrauding investors and fans and all this stuff. So Congress is getting involved and saying we don't, without saying it, they're saying we don't trust you.
Right.
So, which they shouldn't.
No. Be interesting to see what his level of political contributions are compared to other NFL owners.
Yeah, I don't think he. I don't. If Congress, if this goes on until after the midterms, and the House flips,
right,
then probably this will be dropped very quickly. I don't imagine he contributed to too many Democrats in the House of Representatives.
Guessing
right, I'm surprised he probably didn't contribute to any of them because usually when you do, you're not brought up on charges. It's funny how that works.
Well, I'm saying he probably gave to Republicans, but they're not in charge. They don't have the majority, so if the House flips, this may go away.
Right. So, well, anyway,
and I just thought it was interesting that he said, "No, I'll come in and testify. Don't worry about it," or his lawyer did, and they're like, "Nah, we're going to subpoena you anyway."
That's funny. All right. Well, we'll keep tabs on that court case as well. Many court cases in the NFL these days.
Yeah, we probably won't have to talk about it for another
2 or 3 months,
3 or 4 months at least.
Yeah, probably. So, all right. I forgot. Look at that. I forgot to change it to football. The background. Look at that. All right.
Oh no.
So should we change it to basketball? What do you think?
Change it to basketball.
Basketball. All right.
Let's change it to basketball, and we'll talk about Deshaun Watson.
There you go. There you go. So what do you think about the Knicks' new, acquisition?
Did they sign Donovan Mitchell?
Not yet. The Hartenstein.
And unless Donovan Mitchell or somebody else winds up on the Knicks, then I think the Knicks are insane. And if they legitimately have had a chance at Donovan Mitchell, but now they don't because of the money they spent on Jalen Brunson, then that's even sadder.
Well, they'll have to dump some more money, right?
How? I mean, I don't even know if they have a full roster right now.
I don't think they do.
The Knicks are horrible. They're horrible at everything, including trying to get a team together.
Yeah, what is the Brunson deal costing them?
$214 million or something like that.
Insane.
So that was just a free agent signing.
Yeah.
So listen, they traded. They got all these first round picks. That's going to be a big part of the deal for Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah.
Right.
I hope so.
Utah is. We took a shot at it, and now
Utah's obviously gonna blow it up. Which to me is a mistake, but okay.
It's sad. It's sad. Yeah, I'd agree with you. It's a mistake. It's sad, but I think they were like, we can't compete right now, so we'll start over and maybe try and figure it out some other way.
I mean, Donovan Mitchell, we could argue at the very least top 20 player in the NBA, right? Top 25, top 20.
Yeah,
sure.
I'd say top 20. Yeah,
right. When was the last time any conversation the Knicks about the Knicks getting anyone who's even close to that? So, yeah,
LeBron back in 2010,
but that we know that wasn't real,
right?
He didn't even meet with him, did he?
No.
He was in New York, but he never sat down with them.
This would be huge. This would be absolutely huge for the Knicks. Now, I'm not sure, if that's enough for the Knicks, but it certainly makes them a way better team. And if they're going to get hung up on an RJ Barrett, then the Knicks don't know what they're doing. So,
Well, see, I think
they got RJ Barrett and Mitchell Robinson. They have a few of these guys, and they got Jalen Brunson and Donovan Mitchell too. I mean, it's not a bad team.
Like I said, it's a beginning. It's a good start, and it breaks that. What my point is that it breaks that barrier of a top player being signed to the Knicks and choosing to go to the Knicks.
Right.
And I was just going to say, I think they have to do that with somebody.
Yeah.
Because right now, like it seems to me, for the Knicks have to do so much more or give up so much more than almost anybody else to even entertain the thought of a superstar coming.
The Knicks
got to get one guy in to really break that ice.
The Knicks have been an afterthought in the NBA.
They are not a destination.
With the exception of the brief delusion when they thought that Kevin Durant might go there. The Knicks have been an afterthought for years. This will start to put that in a different direction. And I like Donovan Mitchell. Don't get me wrong. I don't think he's enough to, obviously, to win a championship around. But he would become by far, the Knicks' best player. And somebody that you can certainly fill in with a lot, more role players around. So let's see.
But it depends on what you're going to have to give up.
Yeah.
But
at the end,
how long it's going to take you to rebuild, so to speak,
But at the end of all of this, if the Knicks offseason is the signing of Jalen Brunson, then it's an utter failure.
Right.
Utter failure.
So.
And, I said earlier that this is the most interesting time in the NBA. I think it is because it's just sort of a chess match of, who else is not going to want to play for the team that they're on right now, Who else is going to dictate where they go? And at least there's still puzzle pieces where you have to be able to maneuver the salary question marks as well as some of the other prohibitive realities that exist in a lot of these trade scenarios. But we shall see. Will Kyrie wind up on the Lakers? I can't see him going anywhere else.
Right.
But every day that ticks by is more and more of a reality that you're going to see Kyrie and KD starting the season with the Nets.
This is true.
I just want to remind everyone that I think I said when James Harden came over that they'll never win with this crew.
You did. You were very down. You were real. You were much more in line with what the reality is.
Yeah. For once, I don't know how it happened. Maybe I hit my head that day.
If look at it this way, things could have been very, very, very different. Very different if KD's feet were just 1 inch smaller.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just kills me because if you think about what this team was before the Harden trade, with KD and Kyrie and Karis LeVert and the other guys whose names I can never remember.
Spencer Dinwiddie
and the guy who had the
Joe Harris.
The tumor in his back, which is the one great thing. I can't say I would change it because
they found out about it because of that.
Right. So, I wouldn't wish, I still, but that good young team that went to the playoffs the year before, and as good young teams that make the playoffs, they got walloped. Right. But then you throw in 2 superstars in there, you had the makings of something. And you had what we always talk about, depth. And, they destroyed that. The center with the big hair. I can't remember anyone's name. Jared Allen. Right? You had defense, you had depth, you had youth, and you pissed that all away for James.
Well, Harden. I mean, the Nets certainly had more than enough. They were the favorites. But look, you've got arguably the best player in basketball and 3 of the top 10 players in basketball at the time. But two of them are kind of cancers, I think, on teams.
Yeah.
And
that's the thing. If they were all great guys like KD.
And look, KD's not such a great guy. That's the problem with KD too. He looks like a great guy because he's hanging out with James Harden and Kyrie Irving.
All right, but on the court, he's a great guy.
He's the best player in the NBA.
Right, when he doesn't get hurt,
not healthy.
He shows up and when he's healthy, he shows up and he plays. He doesn't take games off for his sister's birthday or whatever.
He plays.
Right.
He's a bit of a sensitive Sally, but he plays.
Yeah, that's fine. Everybody has their flaws. Yeah. But the other two are flakes and malcontent, flake and a malcontent at best. So huge miscalculation.
The difference is, I think James Harden has come to a little bit of an aha moment of going, I got to stay somewhere and I got to take less money in order to get a team around me because me and Embiid alone are not going to win a championship. I think at least he has that reality. I think that there's a little bit more of a desire to win with Harden than there is with Kyrie. But the fact that LeBron is open to this is why this just proves that sometimes as great of players as they are, they're not great at making personnel decisions. And, sometimes it's a no-brainer, when you go and play with, but sometimes it's not. And I would say that the KD Kyrie James Harden scenario is similar to the Miami Heat when they were the first ones to kind of do this, and that they didn't win right away, but they stuck it out. Yep. And they had guys in. I'm not comparing because Dwayne Wade and LeBron James, maybe 2 of the most competitive people to ever play in the history of the game.
Fair enough.
But it was similar. But they stuck it out in Miami and won a couple rings. They did not do that in Brooklyn, and I think it's sad for Nets fans. But it's just the nature of the NBA. And quite honestly, I'm not even sure, even once the season starts, after these trades are done, that you could say, hey, this is how it's going to be. Because one of these superstars is going to want to leave again 3/4 of the way through the season.
Yep.
It's just going to happen.
Yeah, this is more like the Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, and whatever the other Nets triumvirate. Yeah, this one's closer to that one than it is to Miami.
The other thing I heard on ESPN this morning was that Kevin Durant would dominate Larry Bird and the Boston Celtics. Granted, Kevin Durant's a great player, but Larry Bird and those Celtics beat Magic Johnson and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and their third best player was James Worthy. So again, ESPN, I'm just letting you know. If you would like to hire me, I think I am just as qualified to make these calls as these so-called pundits that you have on your show.
To Pete's point before, it's a combination of a couple of things. Okay, it's a combination of stirring the pot, stirring shit, getting clickbait, everything else, getting people to talk about it. That's what they want. All right, and it's also a little bit mixed in, okay, of some millennials not thinking that the world existed at all before they were born.
Sure.
So,
and every one of them and their peers and those younger than them being
not all, mind
slighted,
you, millennials
being
listen
slighted,
to this.
being slighted. Well,
Being slighted.
millennials are 44 years old now. So it's Gen Z, really. But, there's some millennials.
Fine.
that-
Not millennials, not millennials.
Yeah.
Gen Z. Gen Z.
Yeah.
I'm referring to Gen Z. I take that back. I apologize, millennials.
Well, there are some millennials in there. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
I'm sure LeBron is a millennial.
Right.
Tom Brady's Gen X. He's the only Gen X athlete
Xer,
still
yeah.
around.
Exactly.
Yeah, here's the
He's actually on AARP,
That's right.
and he still is
He's
playing.
got a couple more years, but yeah.
here's the other Nets. The big three. It was KG and Paul Pierce traded, and Jason Terry
Mhm.
traded from the Celtics for Gerald Wallace, Marshawn Brooks, Chris Humphreys, Keith Bogans, Chris Joseph, and first-round picks in 2014, 16, and 18.
Right.
And also a first-round swap in 2017.
Yeah, the Nets stole that one. But look, the difference was that
Yes, but they didn't win. No.
Kevin Garnett wasn't even a top 30 player in the league.
No,
that point.
well, you had a 36 or 37-year-old Garnett, and Paul Pierce was about the same age. But it's just
Paul Pierce, one of the most underrated players.
Yes, I agree. And
Sure.
as a Boston fan, always rooting, back in the day for Boston against the Celtics, back in the heyday, of course, you love Paul Pierce.
Paul Pierce is much more old school than any of these guys now.
Yeah,
Yep.
and enemy of the Knicks and all that.
Yeah.
But I mean that Nets team was, I would say, several steps below the Nets team that they broke up for James Harden.
Absolutely, because you had guys in their prime.
Yeah. So I don't know.
It'll be interesting. Look, I'm not sure any of the scenarios that everybody's talking about for KD going to Phoenix. I'm not sure that makes sense. I'm also not sure that having to give up DeAndre Ayton makes them automatically better than some of the other teams in the West. As good as Kevin Durant is, and as good as Devin Booker is, I don't know. It's interesting. I also would like to say that do not sleep on the Denver Nuggets. Because finally there's some rumblings out there that maybe, just maybe, the Nuggets are getting a little bit of interest in this whole thing.
Well, we'll see if the Nets can get it right once.
Well,
Yeah, exactly.
If you want Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. and Aaron Gordon, then we'll be happy to ship them to Brooklyn.
Sure,
Exactly.
you will.
I'm sure you will. All right. Any answer? Oh, we need to talk about tonight.
No.
Oh wait, actually, a couple other NBA things.
Oh, all right.
Real quick.
Go for it.
Because I know we're going to be talking. I figure we're just going to be talking baseball next week.
Yes.
Baseball is it's going to be mostly.
So normally, sort of have we dubbed it officially the fun show?
The fun show, right? The
not
quizzes. It's not.
This is not the fun show.
This is the show of misery. Next week
This
is
is the miserable show. This is the.
Usually
This is where you get to listen
Despair.
to us talk about the math.
The pit of
the
despair
Cincinnati
show.
Reds.
we're going to try and figure out what the Cincinnati Reds record is
Right, exactly.
since they were 4-33.
That's right. And updates on the pickleball tour.
Well, right. Usually I throw all that crazy.
We've decided not to anymore, but yes.
Yeah, well,
We'll do that in the next show.
I didn't.
Next week's show. Yeah,
But I
that's the
did
fun
want to
show.
but we're going to be talking baseball. So just a couple quick things. So the take foul in the NBA, which I hate.
What do you mean? Like just
Well, when
hack a
team's
shack?
on a breakaway and a guy just
yeah.
so they give him 2 shots or a side in or whatever.
and the ball, yeah.
Right. Well, they're changing that now. It's 1 shot.
One shot. That's back to the old days.
Anybody on the team can take 1 shot and then they get possession. So that's going to be supposedly a harsher penalty, I guess.
Remember back in the day when there was a certain amount of fouls, but if you got into the penalty, and then it was if you got fouled, it was 1. You had to make that first one.
1 and 1, yeah, like the college game.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then after another certain amount of fouls, then you automatically got 2.
So the team whose break was stopped gets 1 free throw, which can be shot by anybody on the floor, and they retain possession. So changing that rule. and they're going to apparently make the play-in tournament permanent. So that is
I would like to see the NBA
coming out of Las Vegas.
I would like to see the NBA hire Gary Payton and Charles Oakley as consultants and allow them and Charles Barkley to determine what is a foul and what isn't a foul. And then we will bring it to the high court of Shaquille O'Neal
and Rick Mahorn,
Patrick Ewing, and Bill Lambier.
Right,
the final call.
Yeah, and maybe throw a little Kurt Rambis in there too.
Yeah.
Now here's the thing, the summer leagues are going on, and they have already changed the take foul rule in the summer leagues. No, the numbers aren't all in, but apparently what they're saying is anecdotal evidence suggests that the problem is diminished, which I think was the point. They don't like the take foul. So instead of getting rid of it and making guys chase other guys down the court or whatever, I guess they're going to make the penalty harsher. Now, whether that will translate into the actual NBA, don't know.
Yeah,
but that'd be interesting to see.
Yeah,
at least they're identifying that there's an issue here and they're trying to do something about it. So
I will say this: I have watched some of the summer league. Yes, my life is that boring.
I have too, actually.
Some of these top picks are going to be this Chet Holmgren. I wasn't so sure about. He's a pretty impressive, dynamic player. A couple of these guys are going to be really good right out of the gate. I mean, he weighs 130 pounds and he's 7'3", but he's pretty damn good.
Like Manute Bol, but a little shorter.
Yes.
Now, here's a really nice piece of news from the NBA. And it's that former players from the ABA who are still alive will be eligible.
Jackie Moon.
For what the NBA is calling recognition payments. And this is a program funded by the league and by the Players Union. About 115, by their estimate, surviving players who logged at least 3 seasons in the ABA, but did not qualify for the NBA pension, will now receive $3,800 annually per year of service.
It's not based on their cocaine consumption during those years, huh?
No, I don't think
because then it would be a higher number.
Yeah,
much higher number.
Certainly would.
Right.
So it's nice
recognition. So if they recognize the guy, they'll give him money.
Yeah. If he's unrecognizable, forget about it.
If he's still alive, they'll give him.
Yeah.
Listen, I think it's a nice thing.
The fingerprints match.
Okay.
It's kind of the NBA is sort of being magnanimous here, right? I mean, the ABA was supposed to be the rival league and ended up getting smothered by the popularity of the NBA. And now the NBA is saying, hey, you guys played, you were good, you were professionals, we're going to give you some pension money. So I think it's a nice thing.
It's not bad. It works.
And of course, there's according to them, 115 surviving players. So, that could be like 85 next year.
Right. Yeah, they're
that number is just going to, at a certain point, there's going to be no more recognition payments.
All of the payment is going to come from assumed fines that Kyrie Irving builds up over this next season.
Well, there was only 4 teams went to the NBA.
Right.
The Nets, the Pacers, the
Rockets.
The Nuggets and the Spurs.
The Rockets didn't automatically go to.
No.
Were the Rockets an expansion team or did they?
Rockets were an expansion team, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah. They weren't original NBA anyway. So regardless, they were expansion.
No, I know that. Of course, they were ABA. Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's just the Nets, the Spurs, the Nuggets, and the Pacers. But so that leaves a lot of other teams because there was a good handful of teams in the ABA. So yeah, how many players they say?
115
that are still alive.
That's what they said.
That's right. Yeah.
So the NBA will pay former ABA players $25 million. I guess that's the total sum that they're giving out
annually.
That's good. They'll start getting those payments when they're 85 and enjoy them for.
About 115 players are eligible for the payout. 3 years or more. And they're saying,
I know Dr. J needs the money.
Right.
A player with a minimum of 3 seasons will get $11,484 a year. Player with most years of service, they mentioned Freddie Lewis, who has 9 years, will get $35,452 a year. It's pretty good.
Well, yeah, I mean,
because I think what they're saying is like some of these ABA players
didn't get very much money.
No, they didn't get very much money, and like a lot of athletes, what do you do when the game is over? Right. They don't have any other skills. They might not be good at running business. Some of them are potentially homeless or at least struggling to pay their bills, and so the NBA is going to recognize their service to the sport.
Well, it could be. They're not really. They don't have to be like 84, 85. I mean, Dr. J is
no. They could
72. They could be
they
probably
could be
early to mid 70s. Just I was saying, there's players that are in their early to mid 70s that were ABA players.
Right.
So
right. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're not. When did the ABA fold?
76. Yeah, 76.
Okay, so
75, 76. Yeah,
20. Here we go with the math again.
Right. If you were 20 and 76, you are 66.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, if you were really young back then. Mm-hmm. So they're going to, give them some money, which is good. I think it's a nice thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. All right.
And that's all I got. Sorry.
And that's all.
Sorry to bore you with that.
No boring. We didn't do math. It's fine. And we have no NHL, right? There's nothing going on anyway. So there's less going on in the offseason for them right now. We'll keep it. Anything pops up NHL wise, we'll certainly a couple trades here and there, but nothing to write home about. Anything big pops, we'll talk about it.
I have something that bridges basketball and hockey.
Go for it. Is this the more discussion on which All-Star game decides the
No, this is kind of a serious thing. And it's something that I have not been talking about, but I think it's finally getting some press and then it dies off again. We need to put some pressure on getting Brittany Griner.
Oh, yeah. Free. Thank you for saying that.
And maybe if we just detain a couple Russian hockey players, maybe we'll get their attention.
Mm-hmm.
Could probably do that.
Yeah. It's I know that sounds crass, and but that's the equivalent.
I mean, I got to go out on a limb and say that there's probably a few Russian hockey players that are here that would probably willingly say, "Yeah, detain me for a while so you can get her back."
There's also probably a few who don't. And I'm saying that's half joking and half sort of serious. We need to do something to get the attention of them. And I realize they're trying to save face. She's pleaded guilty. They're hoping that they can expedite the actual verdict of this and then negotiate some sort of, and obviously they want something for her. Right. They want someone who we have detained at a much higher level than Brittany Griner, who has committed who has actually committed crimes and probably espionage-based crimes, to be released.
Yeah, they're not.
Why this is taking this long to deal with is absolutely mind-boggling to me. If this was name an NBA player, if this was,
I think her
LeBron James, then
I think her coach said exactly that.
Yeah,
a couple weeks ago or last week, he said if this was LeBron James, he would have been home, the next day.
And she's
one
of the best players, if not the best player in the league.
Yeah,
they knew what they were doing, meaning the Russians. But I think they expected a little bit more outrage, and personally, I expected more outrage on this side. And I will give LeBron credit, and I give LeBron credit for this all the time because he is one of the few people who will speak out about these things, and he's not afraid to do it, and he is speaking out. But more players who have a bigger platform than certainly we do, and more people in the sports media need to stay on this. This isn't a passing thing that should be talked about, on one news cycle.
Right.
This needs to be talked about more. This is horrific.
This should almost be like mentioned at the beginning of all those sports shows that we talked about.
Absolutely.
This should be mentioned right at the beginning or
with
right
a ticker.
At the end.
Right. Day 93 of Brittany Griner.
By the way, before we say goodbye, we want to mention that Brittany Griner has now been held by the Russians on bullshit charges for 207 days or whatever the hell it is.
Right.
That we need to be reminded of that.
75 days.
Is it 75?
More than that. That was
more than that, right?
Yeah, more than that. I think it's 90 something.
It's been at least, I would think, 3 months. We talked about this when it happened, but so maybe we'll do that.
Yeah, it's been probably over 100 days now.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter. It's more than 10.
It's more if it's more than a week.
Yeah, this is something needs to be done.
130 days.
130.
No,
there you go.
hold on. This was as of 13.
Here we go with math.
13, 14, 15, 16 days ago. So 146. Tomorrow will be 147 days. 147 days.
Yeah, this is.
And she has another hearing tomorrow.
This is crazy.
Mhm.
And I realize, look, there's things going on behind the scenes that we probably don't know about. And I realize that things probably have been done, but we should be talking about it more. And people should be more outraged. And this should be trending on people's social media. And this is what people should be discussing. This is a horrible thing. And granted, she's getting attention that a lot of other people who don't have the celebrity at all don't get. And there are plenty of people who have been unlawfully detained in Russia and other places. And I'm not suggesting that their plight is any less, but this might be able to shed a little bit of light on this. And I think we need to be a little bit more aggressive.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah. Well, we'll keep talking about it on every show then.
All 12 people that listen to this are going to
There
be
you go.
fired up
Hey,
about it.
that's better
12
than
people more.
Better than them not being fired up.
Exactly. All right.
That's how it spreads.
All right. All right. Well, anything else, boys?
That's all I got.
All right. Well, on that note, we'll wrap the show up for today. We want to thank everybody for watching. And for those of you just listening to the audio podcast, thanks for listening. Don't forget to visit our website, www.getonwithitpodcast.com. That's getonwithitpodcast.com. And please remember, like us and follow us on all of our social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Just search for the Get On With It podcast. And, of course, all the shows are on YouTube as well on the Logger Room channel. Remember, we go live with the video podcast on both Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday night around 7:30 Eastern Time. And for those of you who just want to listen to the audio podcast, you can do so on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music Podcasts, and iHeartRadio as well. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to one or more of those feeds, and you'll never miss a show. Again, thanks for following along with us. Have a great rest of your week. Have a wonderful weekend. Get ready for the All-Star game next Home Run Derby next Monday and the All-Star game on Tuesday. Look out for our special All-Star. Our fun show will be a special Tuesday night show around 6 o'clock Eastern time. So check that out, and we'll talk to you soon, folks. Take care. Cheers.
See you Tuesday.
Bye, everybody.